Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Keith. I am the founder and customer and employee retention consultant of Serve Business Consulting, LLC. And we are presenting today on the basics of Net Promoter Score, or NPS. So, what is Net Promoter Score? Well, first and foremost, it is the key metric that we use in any of our interactions with our clients that basically gives you a measurement of how many people are referring either business or potential employees to you. And it's a very effective tool to use. It's very simple to get set up. And really, the way it ends up working, it's applicable across all industries. There is not a single industry that this program does not work for. So let's go ahead and dive right on in. So, what is Net Promoter Score? Like I said earlier, it's a tool that helps you identify people who are likely to be some of your biggest word of mouth advocates. Whether that is products that you sell or services that you offer, who is sending people your way from the outside world, outside of your marketing or your sales teams? And yes, those two teams are separate, so never confuse them as being one and the same there. Who are promoters? Well, promoters, those are the people that you want. Those are the people that are, recommending your businesses. Those are the people that you have made such an impact on that they go out of their way to make sure that people are coming to see you. They are generally the ones that you tend to see a lot. They are generally the ones that'll come walking through your doors, or signing up for your programs, or whatever the case may be, on a regular basis. And a lot of times they're the ones who are bringing a friend as well. So especially when you have a brick and mortar store or something like that, when they come in, more often than not, they will also have a family member with them. They'll have a friend with them. These are the people that you have genuinely impressed. Who are the detractors? Well, they're the exact opposite. They are the ones who maybe they're not actively dissuading people from going to your business, but they are the ones who they're probably going to go somewhere else next time. Or they weren't overly impressed. They simply use you because you happen to be the most convenient option or the cheapest option or something along those lines. There's no real brand loyalty there. Those are, and this is where detractors is kind of a misnomer. Those are the people who really couldn't care less. They happen to use you, but if they have a better option available, they will generally use someone else. So what is the Net Promoter Scale? So the Net Promoter Scale it's on a scale of 1 to 10, or 0 to 10 rather, and it has very, very fine distinctions. A promoter is anyone who would score a 9 or a 10 on that scale. Passives, or net neutral as we call them, are the ones who are still fairly high up on the scale, but they're giving you 7, 8 out of 10 whenever they're asked that question. And then those detractors, the folks that I said really couldn't care less, a lot of times about what you're doing, those are the folks who are scoring 0 to 6 out of 10. So obviously, the ones that you end up wanting are your promoters. If you can't have a promoter, you at least want a net neutral. If you have detractors, those are the folks that you want to start reaching out to on a regular basis, just to see what you can do better, to see what you can improve on for the next time, whatever the case may be. How do you calculate all of that? Well, there's a quick little um, equation down there, but we'll go a little bit more in depth with that in just a few moments. All right, so calculating that promoter scale score. The most important part of asking this question is that you tailor this question to your specific business. This is always going to be the last question that you ask on a customer satisfaction survey, because you want people to take their entire experience into account with your business when they are giving you that net promoter score. You want to make sure that they go from beginning to end, and then you're going to ask them this as an overall impression. The most common way of asking that is what we have there on the screen for you on a scale of 0 to 10. How likely are you to recommend our company to a friend or colleague? That is the generic, excessively vanilla version of that question. Do never ask that question that way. When you do have a customer satisfaction survey, which I hope each and every one of you do because that is the most effective way to gather feedback, you're going to want to tailor this question to exactly what it is that your company does. On a scale of 0 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend our coaching services to a friend or a family member? On a scale of 0 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend a qualified candidate that you happen to know for an open position that we have? You're going to want to make it very specific, but still keeping it open enough that folks can visualize someone that they would ask this question to. And then you go through and you calculate that score. The score is calculated pretty quickly just by a percentage of promoters, the percentage of detractors, and you subtract detractors from promoters. So you take percent A plus percent minus percent B, and there you go. And there's a lot of spreadsheets, there's a lot of online calculators that can figure these numbers out. And there's many, many different options that you guys can take a look at to see what is going to work the best for your business trying to figure this out. All right. Now, once you have that number, what on earth do you do with it? Bear in mind, Net Promoter Score is a predictor. It's not a hard, fast answer on customer satisfaction because you can have a net promoter even when maybe that particular experience wasn't everything that they were looking for because you happened to be out of stock of whatever they were looking for, or they weren't able to make that specific coaching session. You can have promoters and still have a less than 5-star experience, and it can go the other way around. You can have a 5-star experience from a customer, but would they recommend you to a friend or a colleague or a family member? Maybe, maybe not. It just depends on the circumstances. They would be in that passive situation. A lot of times what Net Promoter Score is used for is improving that customer experience. That feedback, especially in situations where perhaps you don't have that many detractors, but half of your reviews are in that net neutral range, that 7 to 8 range, where yeah, they give you a wonderful testimonial, but would they actually recommend their friends and family? That's the biggest question. A lot of times businesses will use Net Promoter Score to calculate stuff on a specific product or a specific service and to see if that product or service is worth continuing, worth expanding on, or if it's something that they need to discontinue at that time. And then finally, it's the easiest way to monitor customer satisfaction because it gives you that real-time snapshot of each individual interaction. So when you actually regularly measure that, it gives you not only that snapshot, but it also gives you a trend where you can see, okay, we launched this product 6 months ago, and since then, we've seen a 10-point increase in our net promoter score. So we're going to continue investing in this product. We're going to continue working on it. And vice versa. When we first launched this, our net promoter score was up very high. Since then, it has dropped. So we are going to discontinue this service and focus on the services or products that were making us money. It's always a benchmark that you can use for your business, and you can use it when you're doing a market analysis too. There are net promoter score benchmarks for every single industry. That is a service that we offer. In case anyone's curious, we can get you that idea of where your business is versus where other locally owned businesses that are in a similar industry are. All we need to do is just get that set up for you. And why should you care? Well, first and foremost, Net Promoter Score is simple. It's very easy to use. It's straightforward. It's very quick to implement. And it's only one question that you ask people in order to get that feedback, as opposed to asking 4, 5, 6 different questions to take a look at everything. It gives you that overall composite score. It does give you the actionable insights. It provides a lot of information to improve on customer experience, and you can also use it to identify where the gaps are. If you have a high customer net promoter score, but a very low employee net promoter score, that's going to tell you where you need to focus your next quarter's budget on in terms of improving everything. And it does lead to higher retention. Categorically, Net Promoter Score relates directly to both customer and employee retention. Generally, a 5 to 7 point increase in your Net Promoter Score leads to a 10 to 15 fold increase in your bottom line, because a higher Net Promoter Score means that more people are sending business to you via word of mouth. When they're sending that word of mouth, you don't have to spend as much on marketing dollars. You don't have to spend as much on uh, outreach, because your customers or your employees have become your biggest advocates. So all of this is very theoretical. What is a good solid range for your Net Promoter Score? Net Promoter is calculated on a scale of negative to a positive 100. If you're below zero, as you can imagine, that's not good. Anytime you're below zero, that means that you have more people who are dissuading or apathetic about your business than you have people who are promoting it. And when you're below zero, you have very likely lost business because of dissatisfied customers, whether that's because they're leaving you 1-star reviews on Google, or they are, um, you know, leaving comments on the Facebook information groups saying, go here instead of your business, or whatever the case may be. Those do require immediate action and attention. A score of zero is absolute neutral. I have only ever encountered one business that had a zero score on their Net Promoter, and it's simply because they had literally started about 3 months before I actually talked to them. If you have a zero score, I'm going to guess that you haven't been around for very long. Anything from 1 to 100 is generally considered very, very positive. Now, most businesses tend to hang out in a 20 to 30 range. Scores above 50 are, depending on the industry, but by and large, scores above 50 are considered to be top of the industry. And then if you have a score of 80 or higher, you are considered to be a world-class customer experience. Not only by my own standards, if you ever want to take a look at any of our accreditation programs, but that is also the standards that were set out by the developers of the Net Promoter Score system. Now, what are some companies that actually use this? And I do apologize, one of those logos kind of got dark on here. But these are some of the three highest ranking companies. Tesla, you're going to see them right there, as high up as really you can possibly get. They generally have a score of 97 out of 100. Now, that is because, as you can see on there, about 5% of their roughly 250,000 employees are devoted exclusively to customer experience. When you can devote 5% of 270,000 some odd people to having a good customer experience and ensuring that, yeah, you're going to be up pretty high. Most people will recommend you because you're putting that time, that investment into doing so. Apple. Apple is one of the best examples on here because they have been using Net Promoter Score since before it was developed. They had their own system. It was very similar, but it was never anything official. As of right now, they have a score of 72, which is very close to that world-class experience. And a lot of times they'll use that feedback to decide what features to incorporate in their next generation of devices, whether that's the phones, the watches, the laptops, the tablets, whatever the case may be. And a lot of times that's why you'll see them developing all these features and then rolling them out slowly, because a lot of times if you roll those out all at once, you're going to overwhelm everybody by having to figure out all this new stuff, and that will actually drop your Net Promoter Score. So Apple has mastered being able to present these products in a cohesive but also easy to follow way. And then Pizza Hut. Now, this is one of my personal favorites on here because since Pizza Hut has done such a specific job of tracking this, many of you probably remember, back in the 80s, 90s, the Pizza Hut restaurants were the places to be. They had the classic salad bar right in the middle of the building. They had the jukebox over on the side that you could play with. Um, a lot of times that they would have multiple ways to keep the kids entertained, all while you were waiting on your pizza. Well, then they switched over to more of a Domino's method of, delivery only, or you come pick up at the store or something like that. But upon doing a lot of their market research and a lot of the work that they've been doing in terms of customer satisfaction, customer experience, they've started reopening those stores, and they've seen, you see right, 78 during the pandemic, during the mid-teens, early not late knots, Pizza Hut was actually down in the 50 range. Then beginning, late 20 teens, and then beginning of this decade, they've started reopening a lot of those stores, and that net promoter score is going back up because people like having a place that they can congregate, especially after the pandemic. Most people are trying to get into some sort of social life, and Pizza Hut's bringing back that with that nostalgic vibe too that a lot of us grew up with. So, as far as Net Promoter Score goes, it is a valuable tool to measure satisfaction, and you can use it to predict business growth. And it only involves asking one question. So that one question, you do need to tailor it. I cannot stress that enough. You do need to tailor it to your specific business, to your specific industry, but it's only one question. And if you don't have a full customer satisfaction survey, even just asking this one question will get you a lot of actionable feedback. And you use that feedback to improve that customer experience to see if maybe it is time to go back to an older model, or maybe it's time to launch something new. And you can see a lot of times trends before they become a problem. If you start seeing things fall off, if you start seeing things pick up, whatever the case may be, you can make sure that you are getting everything in there so that you only really have to deal with raising that net promoter score and finding out what is going to work for that. Now, what is one thing that Serve Business Consulting does? We actually will do that detailed data analysis for you. We have a program called a rave report that actually goes through and it'll get everything set up for you so that you can view, okay, this is what my net promoter estimate would be based off my Google ratings. And then we do offer training and monitoring programs that are designed to help you raise that net promoter score up into that 80 plus range on both sides of the counter. This is that rave report that I was talking about. What it does is it allows us to actually go through and you'll be able to see how many reviews do you have, how many of those reviews are actually talking about recommending people. And when we do have the total number of clients that you have on average, you'll be able to see what the oldest review on file is, how far back we're measuring, and we get down here. It's going to give you, what percentage of your reviewers are actually promoting you. What percentage, how many net detractors do you have? How many one stars do you have out there? And then what are your net neutral? Or in the case of Google reviews, what are your blank reviews? Those are the ones that they're either testimonials that really don't give you any actionable feedback, or they're just reviews where someone gave you a star rating and didn't actually say anything about their visit. Those don't do a whole lot for you. And then down here, you always see that estimate, see that review. Now, the estimate, you're going to be able to see what your industry average is, whether you are healthcare, whether you are fitness training, whether you are manufacturing, veterinary care, whatever the case may be. And then what is the score that you need on that net promoter to achieve your primary business goals, or what we would call your referability goal? Do you want to be exclusively word of mouth, by referral only, as the saying goes? Do you want to grow your business to the extent that you could open up a second location, or you could take on a partner with your business and actually sustain that? All of that can be calculated through your net promoter score. And then the response rate. That's always a fun one because when you're looking at Google, the average response rate for asking for Google reviews tends to be about 18%. That's not bad if you only have about 100 clients a month. But if we're talking you have, a couple thousand clients over the course of a year, 18% means that you are not getting any feedback that's usable. Generally, what you want to look for when you have a net promoter score, when you have a customer satisfaction report, um, whether that's done through an internal survey or through your point of sale system, whatever the case may be, you're going to want to have a response rate in there between 20 to 30%. And that's what you get a lot of times when you do ask for this sort of thing in person, when you do ask for it as part of your transaction. Thank you so much for joining us today. I originally our invite did say it'd be about an hour. A lot of times that's based on how many folks we have signing up, how many questions we have coming in. So it is a little bit on the shorter side today. I do want to thank everyone who is here for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A section that you'll see in those bubbles down at the bottom of your screen, or you are welcome to email us at info@servebusinessconsultingllc.com. That's info, I-N-F-O, at serve, S-E-R-V-E, businessconsultingllc.com. The little QR code on the left side there, or the right side, depending on if your screen is mirrored, will actually sign you up for our newsletter. We do send out a monthly newsletter with tips, tricks, and ideas on retaining customers, retaining employees, just making sure that you can keep people on both sides of the counter. Again, my name is Keith Hessel. Thank you again so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure seeing you all here, and we will look forward to serving you in the future.